A little while back, we did a fall freezer meals video. Oh, such good meal prep in that because it had like the pumpkin waffles and it had that. At the end of this video, we will put a link to that. But it was very hard for me to not make that all soups because we have such good soup recipes.
We have such good soup recipes, and the longer you look at them, the more you think, oh, these are fall soup recipes. Okay, yes. Some of them are going to be for those colder fall days, and some of them are going to be for those rich, beautiful, warm fall days that there's still that hint of summer. You'll see which soups fall into which category as we go through them for sure.
In that video, I did mention that I was very tempted to make a fall soupy, and I just couldn't help myself, so here we are.
Here we are. More fall, more soup, more recipes. It's great.
I love fall, which we also established in that video. Christy is not so much a fan.
It's just a reminder of the passing of summer, which is my favorite season, and into winter, which isn't. Now, we are in Canada, we are in Alberta. If you aren't familiar, it's very dry here. We get really cold. We don't usually get a ton of snow, but we have these crisp winter days because the sun shines so brightly. And so I actually don't mind winter for that reason. It could be cold where it hurts your face to be outside.
That's true.
But it is sunshiny and I am solar powered. And so yeah, I get a little melancholy during fall because I'm a little sad about summer being over because just summer is just so fun and I still have kids at home. You sent me an article years ago that said 18 summers isn't enough. Oh, darn it. Oh. And it just isn't. Oh. It just isn't. So I never look forward to fall. I am one of those moms that does not look forward to like back to school. I hate putting them on the bus. I just love having them around. So all that to say is we're gonna have soup now. I didn't mean to get all weepy.
Christy crying in videos is nothing new.
That's nothing.
You know, since I want to take your focus away from Christy's poor bloodshot eyes, she's one of those people that if she cries for 1 minute, it looks like she's been crying for a week.
A reddish skin tone.
And we all love her for having all that emotion and being so real.
We gotta talk about soup. That's okay.
We'll
talk about my kids another day.
I'll be the insensitive friend that's like, and now
moving along.
Soup recipe. Okay, this is our hearty sausage and zucchini soup. I feel ridiculous talking about soup. I was a homeschool mom, so I didn't really have that like
go back to school
putting
feeling.
them on the bus. I was with them all day, every day,
right,
year round. But eventually, some of them went to school for like junior high and high school. But I think by that point, I'd had so many of them for so long that I wasn't that sad.
No, but yes, the idea of summer is just very, I hold it tight. I hold it really tight. So I do struggle moving into fall. That's okay. Back to the soup.
At least we have good fall flavors.
We have fantastic fall flavors.
Again,
and I have good feelings about fall. Like, I think I talked about this in the other video, harvest. To me, I was a farm kid, so the grain farming and the harvest, and that is super nostalgic to me, and to me, that's fall. But I'd still rather just go to the beach and tan. It's true.
This is a favorite. And
it's so good.
One of our sons, he has pointed out that he is our middle child. Like, he is of the 7, he is smack in the middle. He is the middle. So our middle child, this is his favorite meal. Not just his favorite soup, his favorite meal of all time. If I make this, he could eat the whole pot.
And he's grown up enough. He could get close to doing it all in one sitting.
So this is our hearty sausage and zucchini soup. Into your large freezer bag, you're going to add some browned Italian sausage. I like the spicy variety. Then you're gonna add some pasta sauce, some drained white kidney beans, diced zucchini. If you're lucky enough to have some from your garden harvest, then you can throw those in there, or from your neighbor's garden harvest. Then some peeled and chopped carrots, diced onion, minced garlic, and If you want, you can put your chicken broth into the bag now, or you can make a note on the bag to add the chicken broth on the day of cooking so that your bag takes up less space in your freezer. You're going to seal that and get out as much air as you can before sealing. When you're freezer cooking, air is the enemy. It causes your freezer burn, and nobody loves freezer burn. Then you're going to put a cup of small pasta shells in a medium size, that's a quart size freezer bag, and you're gonna staple that bag onto your large freezer bag above the seal, of course, so that you don't get any leaks. You're gonna put this in your freezer. On the day you go to cook this, you can just put it in your slow cooker or in a large stovetop pot. Cook it up. If you haven't already added that chicken broth, you're gonna add it now. And then towards the very end of cooking, just in that last 20 minutes or so, you're going to add in the pasta. The nice thing about having them already in the bag measured out is you're gonna be sure that you have all the ingredients for the day you go to make this. Now, if you don't have the small shells, macaroni noodles work just fine. And this one, with having the pasta in it and that Italian sausage, is just so hearty. It's like a stick to your bones kind of soup.
It really, really is. And the pasta helping it being hearty, I don't need to eat a bun with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Christy usually likes to have...
We've had great debates about whether soup is a meal on its
Buns or
own.
biscuits.
This is one that qualifies as a meal on its own because of the pasta in it, and it is stick to your ribs. I generally like, it's just not unless I've had a bun or some crackers in it or something. Anyway.
And this soup that you're about to tell us about is one that you would definitely have to have.
I would definitely have to have something with, and that is roasted carrot soup. It is, I think it's probably one of my favorite soups in our repertoire for sure. Now, it is a little bit more work, and it's worth the work because you want to roast the carrots ahead of time. So we are going to peel and chop our carrots, put them on a parchment paper lined baking sheet, and drizzle some olive oil and a little bit of sea salt on it, and then toss the carrots until they're lightly coated in the salt, and then you just spread them out in a single layer. You are going to roast these in your oven. Now the idea here is not only to cook them, but to get them to start to caramelize. They get those little brown bits on there because that is where a lot of the flavor is going to come from. You're going to toss them around a little bit throughout the cooking. Then we are going to add some onion and a little bit more olive oil, more salt, and then bake them for a few more minutes, having the onion in there with the carrot for a little bit more flavor. Once your carrots and your onions have cooled, you're going to put them into your large resealable freezer bag along with some minced garlic, and then the seasonings. We're adding in coriander, some cumin. That is it. Now you can put some vegetable broth in right now or water, or you can leave it out and add it in on the day of cooking. You're gonna seal it up and freeze it. Now on the day of cooking, you are going to add everything in the bag after thawing it into a large pot. We're gonna add 2 more cups of water and bring to a boil over a high heat and then reduce it and simmer. Now, because your carrots are already cooked, your onions are partway there, it really only needs to be 15 or 20 minutes. We're going to pull it and let it cool. And then with an immersion blender, or I have actually put it in my big Ninja blender, we're going to blend it until it is completely smooth. We're going to put a squeeze of lemon juice in and a little bit of pepper. And I promise you, this will be the best carrot soup you've ever had.
She's right, because I didn't even want to eat carrot soup. I was like, carrot soup? Like no thank you. But it was actually, Christy and I belong to a supper club. We've got 4 couples that take turns making supper. We've established recently that it actually has been going on for more than 6 years, which is pretty surprising because time flew. So one of our supper clubs at Christy's house, she served this roasted carrot soup, and it was one of those ones where you're like, can I take some of that home?
It is that good.
It's so good. And so then we were determined to figure out a way to make this into a freezer meal, of course. And we've had it over and over and over again, and I'm no longer like, carrot soup. I love this next soup, and I feel like it's kind of like eating liquid baked potato.
Tell us more.
So it actually has no potatoes whatsoever because potatoes don't tend to freeze very well unless they're cooked ahead or, different things.
You can freeze cooked potato soup. Absolutely you can. But this isn't it.
No, this is cauliflower soup. It's cheesy cauliflower soup. There is not a potato in sight. But stick with me and you'll see why this reminds me of baked potato, and it does have those flavors. And anyway, so into your large freezer bag, you're going to add some cauliflower florets, shredded cheddar cheese, diced onion, minced garlic, again, just from a jar, butter, heavy cream. When you're freezer cooking, milk does not freeze and thaw and cook up again well. It tends to separate, so we use heavy cream instead, which I'm not sad about. Then we're gonna add in some cubed cream cheese, salt and pepper. You can add your vegetable broth or chicken broth now, or again, just like the other ones, you can make a note on the bag to just add it on the day of cooking. You're gonna get out your excess air again, seal it, freeze it. On the day you go to make this one, you can cook it up either in your slow cooker or your Instant Pot. When it is fully cooked, you're gonna run an immersion blender through it so that it's nice and creamy. And then you're gonna top your bowls with sliced green onion, crumbled bacon, and a sprinkle of cheddar cheese so that it's like a baked potato.
You are right. You could also put little chopped chives on it.
You could.
You could.
If you're vegetarian, you can get imitation bacon bits and use those instead. So this can be a fully vegetarian soup. Oh, this one is like hearty and fall, and you get to drink baked potato. What could be better?
Carrot soup. Sorry. No, it is very good and it is rich. The cheese in it and the heavy cream, it is rich and another stick to your ribs for being vegetarian. I would probably still need to have a bun with it, but it's good.
Okay.
It's
biscuit.
Good.
It would be a good biscuit.
Really good with a biscuit or cornbread.
Oh, yeah.
I made corn chowder this week and I made my own little batch of cornbread. Lots of times I make biscuits. Baking powder biscuits, not like the cookie biscuits if you're watching in the UK.
Yes, we mean that.
That kind of biscuit. Yeah, I usually make it with that kind of biscuit or just have like a pan buns, but I decided corn chowder, I am gonna make cornbread, and I did it and it was fine together. It was really good.
Christy
That is so good.
Way better than me at coming up with side dishes and accompaniments for the meals.
Sometimes I am. Sometimes I am just too lazy to put them together though. I have the idea, but it's, even though we save all this time with our freezer meals, it's like, it's gonna have to be good enough because I just can't get it together. Bagged salads, man, they are the best. They are the best. Costco has some of the best bagged salads.
Why not?
Why not? This next recipe, speaking of vegetables, is enchilada soup. Now, it has chicken in it, so it isn't a vegetarian meal, which made me laugh because when I was digging up this recipe, I was looking all through the vegetarian section because the enchiladas we make, like they're corn and black bean enchiladas, I just automatically think that they're vegetarian. So we have chicken enchilada soup and it is so flavorful and so good.
And it's an excuse to have that enchilada sauce, which both of us love
the flavor of the enchilada sauce. So we're going to start out in our freezer bag with some boneless, skinless chicken breasts. We're going to add in minced garlic, some chili powder, Worcestershire sauce, some hot sauce, a chopped onion, a chopped red pepper, some black beans that have been rinsed and drained, some kernel corn, drained or not drained, or you could use frozen corn if you would prefer, and then 2 cups of enchilada sauce. Like there is enchilada sauce in here, and some chicken broth. Now, again, we've said this before, if your freezer's getting pretty full, you can hold off on the chicken broth until the day of cooking because it can sit in your pantry just as easily as it can sit in your freezer. So if you don't have the room, you can skip that till later. And then we're just gonna add in some salt and pepper and we are done. We're going to get all the air out of the bag, seal it up and freeze it. Now, on the day of cooking, you're going to need a few more things. We're going to thaw it and get it into our slow cooker, and you can also do this in the Instant Pot, and then shred your chicken. Then you can add in some heavy cream, some sour cream, and some shredded cheese in your last 10 minutes of cooking. Now, when you go to serve, you can put it all in your bowl. You could probably sprinkle a little more cheese on it, and then some crushed up tortilla chips and some cilantro. And here it is. It's like eating an enchilada in your soup bowl, and it is so good.
It's really creamy and good, and it's very dairy forward. Like, it's got the sour cream and the heavy cream and the cheddar cheese, but it just works together and because of the chicken and the vegetables, it is a hearty one. It's good.
It is really good.
Can you tell we like soups?
We love soups. And I mean, I've always liked soup somewhat, but since I've met you, I really like soup. I
have good soup recipes.
You have good soup recipes. I took a picture of a soup. I was at a restaurant and I took a picture of a soup that I was having, and it was a carrot soup and it had orange and brie in it. I'm going to have to think about it.
Apricots and brie.
I think it was orange, but we can go back and look. And I didn't ask for the recipe, but I don't need to. I have Charlotte. She'll figure it out. She will figure out how to make this soup. And it was really good. So good. So there might be more carrot soup coming your way.
We just have to figure these things out and invent our own little variations on these.
And make it freezer friendly, right?
Yes.
That's also the nice thing. You have to realize these are tested, tried and true recipes that can be frozen and defrosted and cooked and are still delicious.
This one was actually in that fall freezer meals video, but I'm giving it to you again because what if you missed that?
What if you missed it? You need to know about this soup.
You have to have this soup. And if you watch that video, you can like fast forward this part because this is the sweet potato soup. It is a new to us this year recipe for this fall, and we've been devouring it. We made it twice. We made a large family size bit of it, and we also made it and cooked it up and then froze it in individual portions.
So we can have it for lunch. Not only that, when I made my large one, we only ate half of it, so I bagged it up. Even though it was cooked, I bagged it up for a reheat, so I have extra lunches.
They are so good. In your large freezer bag, you're going to add some peeled and diced sweet potato, diced onion, minced garlic, again from a jar. Now, we did add celery into this one because it was going to Christy's house, but I'm allergic, so we don't usually add celery, but you go ahead and add it. And then some diced red pepper, a little bit of olive oil, paprika, turmeric, cinnamon, and cayenne. All those seasonings is where this gets its flavor from. A bay leaf, some drained chickpeas, a bit of soy sauce, half a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes, which is why you should double this and just use that whole can. And then again, you can add the vegetable broth now, or you can add it on the day of cooking, but make sure you put a note on the bag to remind yourself. You're going to get out the excess air, of course, seal it, get it in your freezer, and then on the day you're gonna cook this, you could make it in the slow cooker, but we have just been doing ours on the stovetop. It is so good. You're just gonna heat it up, like it's done.
It's done. Oh my goodness.
Oh, you could put a little bit of fresh cilantro on this, and some basil is what it calls for. We haven't even gotten that far. And I do have fresh basil. I just have been eating this so fast that I have been forgetting to put the fresh basil in it. And I am not kidding. I am almost through mine. But on that note, if you live on your own, or if you're looking for a way to make lunches for yourself and just the single serving size for dinner or for lunch, any of these soups, what you can do is cook up the full soup. Instead of making it in your large freezer bag, you're gonna cook it in a stovetop pot. Follow all the instructions except fully cook it, and then you're gonna wanna wait for it to cool and then bag it. Because that way you're just reheating it. And you can have it in those individual serving sizes, reheat it, and so nice to have those on hand, especially for fall and winter.
Absolutely.
And these will last at least 3 months in your freezer. So as long as you've gotten that air out, you're good 3 to 6 months. So you can have these in the winter on those cold, snowy days when you just want soup.
When the sun isn't shining and you need a little pick-me-up.
Yes.
You can put on your fuzzy socks and have some soup and watch some Christmas movies.
Exactly.
See, we're thinking of the future. Future you is going to be so thankful for present you for making these things for you, right?
Yes.
So this next recipe is probably what converted me into actually eating lentils and liking it. And it is the spicy red lentil soup. Now, this was made by your sister-in-law.
It was after cross-country skiing.
Right.
When you are hungry.
Yeah.
And cold.
Right? And the lentils, right? It's protein and it's just so good. And it's pureed, so it's not lentil textured.
Which is Christy's lentil problem.
That was my hang up on the lentils. So to start out, this is another one that we're going to cook completely and then put it into the bag, and it will just be a reheat on the day of having it. Into your stovetop pot, you're going to add a couple of chopped onions in some olive oil. We're going to add in garlic, some cumin, paprika, and a bit of cayenne pepper and cook it for a minute. We're going to add in our chicken broth, quite a bit, and our red lentils. We are going to rinse them first and add them in, and then we're going to add in some tomato paste and our bay leaf. We're going to cover it and bring it to a boil, giving it a stir every once in a while. Then we are going to reduce the heat and simmer for 25 to 30 minutes or until your lentils are tender, which could be hours in my world, but that's okay. We're still going to blend them up, so it's going to be okay. Discard the bay leaf and then blend your soup. You do half at a time, or you could use your immersion blender, but it's a big one. It's going to be a big one to put into your whole blender all at once. And so blend it up until it is smooth, and then you're going to return it back to your stove and add in a can of evaporated milk. We're going to let it reheat again until it's hot again. Add your salt and pepper, and that's it. Then you allow it to cool, then you can add it to your freezer bags. You can put this into 2 large freezer bags, or like Charlotte was mentioning before, into the smaller ones. Then it's an easy reheat on the day of cooking, and it is flavorful. It is still a lot of protein because of the lentils, and it's super healthy.
And it has fall color.
It is full of fall color. Like Charlotte's shirt. Isn't that a beautiful shirt? I just love your shirt today.
Thank you.
The whole time I was thinking of like the roasted carrots, and I'm like, you kind of match the shirt. It made me think of Anne of Green Gables. Because Gilbert calls her carrots and pulls her hair.
It is my favorite book of all time.
Oh,
Green Gables, of course.
Sure.
And we live in Canada, so if you're Canadian, then every year around Christmas time, they would put the original, it's not the original, but the best Anne of Green Gables TV show. It's the one with Megan Follows. Mm-hmm. And oh my goodness, that was my favorite. And so every year I looked forward to that so much. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as they were available on DVD, I bought them and
could continue to watch them every Christmas.
Or anytime I felt like it, because I didn't have to wait until they were on TV.
If you grew up in Canada in the 80s, it is woven into the fabric of our being, because it was just, everybody knew it. And we've had, wonderful series that have come after that are all related to, and it brought such tourism to PEI, like you can go see the house.
And the acting in that show, everyone. I mean, oh my goodness.
Marilla and Matthew.
Like
Rachel Lind. Oh
yes.
my.
How many of us can quote The Highwaymen because of Anne being able
just you.
to... Okay. Maybe just
but she nailed it, and I bet you can too.
Yes, I can.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'm sure you are not the only one.
Christy and I were in a bookstore not that long ago, and we found these children's books based on Anne of Green Gables. One was a board book, actually, and it was looked almost quilted, it was so beautiful. And the other one was, for slightly older, like early elementary school kids, and both of them were just... I did buy one.
Yes.
I would have bought both if I had a granddaughter, not a grandson.
You know what? You should have, because someday, that's a
Someday
someday
I
book,
will.
right?
Yes,
Because you would still love to have it.
I would love to have it.
Do you know what I have a book of? Speaking of some Canadiana, I have a coffee table book of beautiful illustrations of the log driver's waltz. And it has, yes! And it has, okay, again, if you were a Canadian kid in the 80s, you know the log driver's waltz, you know all the words. I learned how to, okay, you learned how to say the, recite the Highwayman. I learned how to play the log driver's waltz on the piano.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. And so I would play, and it's a beautiful song, and I have this lovely book. And it took me a long time to decide to buy it because I thought it was kind of expensive for something that, you know, but I went back and I got it. That's my, if I think about something long enough after I've left the store and I still think about it, I'm going to go back and buy it. That's my, like, I've slept on it, I will go back and buy it, even if it's a little bit expensive.
Because that's your signal.
That's my signal.
really
I will
want
regret it if I don't go get this.
Okay.
I'm so glad to have that book.
There is this like cabinet thing that I saw in a furniture store. It has to be like 13 years ago, and I still regret not buying it.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Like, I still think about it. There's also a dress that I tried on. I was with my husband. I tried on this dress. It was too fancy for the Christmas party at his work, but I've never looked better in anything in my whole life. This dress was like very flattering. And that was at least 20 years ago. And I regret to this day not buying that dress. And I have sometimes looked on like vintage sites and stuff to try
see
to
if you
find
could
that
find
dress.
it.
Yes.
Tell us in the comments below. This is not about freezer meals anymore. I have cried. We are talking about Anne and our dresses. Tell us below either what you have regretted not buying or something that you're a little bit like me. Like you just can't stop thinking about it and you're just going to have to go back and get it. Because we all have those things, right? We all have these rules for ourselves.
Yes.
Around our shopping. And I'm curious if I'm the only one like that. I'm sure I'm not.
I'm not much of a shopper, and I don't like trying clothes on, so I really should have bought that dress. But I do have a weakness for books, and you know that.
When we went into that bookstore, I
Yeah.
knew exactly. I knew darn well you were going to buy a book. I'm an audiobook person, so if I find a book in a bookstore, I will either take it out from the library through audiobooks or I'll get it on Audible. I will find a way to consume the book. I won't buy the book from the store unless it has pictures of
Right, the log drivers.
the log driver's waltz.
And I am like that person that has to have the physical book in my hand. And sometimes I like to buy them new, but sometimes I like to buy them from a used bookstore and like imagine the people before me that read the same book.
Right?
And it's just like, and the smell of the pages. Anyway.
We are in a book club as well as a supper club.
Although Christy attends much more frequently than I do because I never find time to read the books.
Right.
And the book they're reading right now, I'm purposely not reading it because I thought it would disturb me. And
It was a bit heavy. Still a good book, and you know.
it's worth reading those books that disturb
heavy.
you for all the right reasons and that are heavy. But I'm just have some other things going on in my life that are heavy enough that I don't need to add heaviness right now.
That is totally fair.
But someday I will. So someday I might go back and read that book.
And maybe our next book will be a bit more of a palate cleanser, and you can join us the month after.
Lighter. Or oddly enough, true crime never bothers me.
Right?
As heavy as you would think it is,
You think it doesn't bother you, but I have seen what it does to your brain when you get excited about things. She thinks it doesn't bother her because she can sleep at night, but she can't sit in a restaurant with her back to the door. You're so funny. Okay, we have to talk about more soup.
Okay,
Sorry.
soup time. Soup's on. Pinto tortilla soup.
I have a question, real quick.
Yes.
Do you say soup's on even if it's not soup?
No.
At our house, growing up, it didn't matter what meal you were having. Mom would holler out the back door, soup's on. And it didn't matter what meal we were having. We just knew that was how she called us for dinner. Soup's on. And so I
No.
say it to my kids, soup's on.
That's cute. Pinto tortilla soup. Into your large freezer bag, you're gonna add chopped onion, minced garlic, chopped red pepper, some salsa, 3 cups. So this is plenty of salsa, and some pinto beans. I like to use the chili style pinto beans, and it's a mix of pinto and kidney beans. It's those Heinz chili style beans. That's my favorite for this soup. Then you're gonna add in 1 or 2 bay leaves, some vegetable bouillon powder, and you can add the water now or make a note on the bag to add it later, and then add some salt and pepper. On the day you go to make this, you're going to thaw it and just simmer it in your stovetop pot for about an hour. You're gonna take the bay leaves out, and then when you serve this, you can top it with shredded jalapeno jack cheese and some tortilla crisps. You could also add some sour cream or some diced avocado. This is just a really good one. You can also cook it in the slow cooker or I'm sure the Instant Pot.
This soup is probably along the same lines as the roasted carrot soup in terms of flavor, richness, and texture, even if we're being completely honest. This is curried butternut squash soup. If you like a butternut squash soup, you definitely need to try this because the curry in it just gives it such a wonderful layer of flavor. We are going to add into our freezer bag a sweet potato that has been cubed into 1-inch chunks. We have our sweet potato that has been peeled and cubed into 1-inch chunks. Our butternut squash, again, an average size butternut squash that's been peeled and cubed into 1-inch chunks. We are going to add in some olive oil, some minced onion, some minced garlic, some minced ginger. Now we use squeezy tube ginger, kind of like we use garlic, because we don't want to grate our ginger ourselves. It's a big job. We go through it fast enough that we like to use the squeezy tube. And we're going to add in some curry paste. You can use mild or you can use spicy. We're also adding in some cumin, some salt and pepper, and you can use chicken broth or vegetable broth, because if you use vegetable broth, this is completely vegetarian. If you use chicken broth, that is totally a-okay. And again, you may want to add it now. You may want to make a note on your bag to add it later. We're going to get that air out of the bag, seal it and freeze it, and then on the day of cooking, we're going to put this in the pot with the broth, and we're going to add a little bit of water, and we're going to bring it to a boil, and then again, simmer it for half an hour. You just want to make sure that your squash and your sweet potato are nice and soft. And then you're going to allow it to cool slightly and then use your immersion blender to blend it up. And again, it's that texture of the carrot soup, the richness of it. Both the carrot soup and the butternut squash soup you would think are a cream soup, and they are not. There is not a drop of dairy in there. They are just that rich.
This is restaurant quality. The
Absolutely.
carrot soup is too.
So yes, it is.
We actually, my husband and I were at an event one time, and I texted Christy and I was like, they have carrot soup here? And it was a fancy event. It was a gala, you know?
It was a gala.
And I was like, they have carrot soup here and it's not as good as ours.
So try it. If you think you need to try this in your life, you definitely do. I can confirm. And the butternut squash soup too, because I love this one. I like butternut squash in general, but this is the one.
It is a perfect fall soup.
Absolutely. And I think that's it. We are done talking because my goodness, have we derailed a bit today. I'm sorry for that, but I'm not really sorry for it.
If you don't know Anne with an E, look up the Anne of Green Gables books. Look up that original CBC Anne of Green Gables series.
Fall in love with Gilbert Blythe.
Yes, it is.
And Diana Barry, just like we did.
It's the sweetest and most wholesome, and if you wanted to show your kids a show that would be totally okay for them to watch and you wouldn't have to worry about Anne of Green Gables, the one with Megan Follows, that's it.
That's the one. That's what you're looking for. You came here looking for soups.
Little did you know you would get some Canadiana.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We are so glad that you were here and we could share our soups and our hearts and our book club with you.
Soup's on!